We're gonna banter about it.
Hi, this is Cristina Dam, and this is Liberate the Podcast, where we educate, motivate, inspire, and liberate your consciousness. Today we have a very special guest, one of our own practitioners here, and I'm excited because she does hypnotherapy, and I do hypnotherapy, and so we're gonna geek out into a world of the unconscious mind and looking at how you can change your behaviors. And so today's guest, her name's Lani. She's a practitioner here. Maybe you know of her, you've seen her on the website. She goes by the Change Agent, because that's really what she's doing. She's making change, and she's an agent of change. Dun, 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 dun. So welcome, Lani. I hope you liked your intro there.
I do. I like it.
A little goofy. We're also good friends, so it makes
we
it.
Are?
Oh,
I'm just kidding. Of course. Sarcastic. I have to be sarcastic.
And so, Lani, I want people to know a little bit about you. I mean,
Sure.
I just shared a little goofy intro, but no, for real. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you do. And, then we want to dive into some fun stuff.
Sure.
Not that that's not fun.
Like who am I?
Who are you?
It's such a big question.
You're a being on human Earth.
Yes.
Human Earth.
If we're human today, we're spiritual tomorrow. I don't know. So I moved here about a year and a half ago from the East Coast. Anyone's from the East Coast? So I came here with the interest, obviously, of studying out. I was studying hypnosis in New York, primarily, and I knew that if I came out here, I had the idea that I'd be more accepted here. I knew people were more into self-growth, looking to change, and were open-minded to many modalities. So that's kind of one of the primary reasons that California interested me, amongst other things. So, yeah, I mean...
But what got you into hypnosis? Because you've been studying it for a long time, working at it, being a practitioner, You do it more part-time because you have a full-time job as well, and you've been doing journalism for years. And so, I mean, just a wealth of the way that she looks at the world and thinks about the world, you have it from that kind of that holistic type of perspective just naturally, and then you can see things from different angles. I mean, that's one of the responsibilities of a journalist, right? You have to constantly be seeing the different angles of things and understanding the totality, and now you're applying that to people because when you understand the whole picture, you can see how you can lead them into the change that they're looking at, right?
Yeah. I mean, like you said, I was originally started as a journalist for like over a decade. So it was a struggle at first because I'm really like a shy, like socially awkward person initially, but that really got me out of my shell, and I realized, wow, I can really talk to like any walks of life, like from politicians to like famous musicians, tattoo artists, things like that. So I started off doing that, and I think it was unconscious. I think at the time I had a lot of like intense social anxieties, and I was just kind of getting tired of it. And I was like, I can't like keep living life like this. I was like into my 20s and really feeling limited in like social interactions and like just doing things that I wanted to do, but I was kind of like stopping myself from doing them. So I kind of just white knuckled my way through being a journalist initially, and like throwing myself in really uncomfortable like situations. Like, okay, yeah, I'll just talk to the mayor of the town and like have a phone conversation to a mom who just had their child die, like things like this. And I was like, oh, this is like intense. Wow. So I just kind of just threw myself, or like talking to some famous tattoo artist who was like really like someone who you can never get like an interview with because he just would, not allow anyone to do it, and like convincing him, like, you can talk to me. Like, so like things like that. So I basically knew like about change and how I wanted to change as a person. And then after I started talking to all these people, we're all like obviously really similar. Just, we just have different labels, or, in our lives. And then I sort of got into hypnosis, but first through the avenue of meditation. So I was going through like a really dark, depressed period in my life. I think it was like after a breakup. I think I was in a job at the time, which is still the same job. It's interesting how perspectives change. But at the time I was like, oh, like what do I want to do with my life, and like what's the meaning and what's the purpose of everything? And I kind of intensely started meditating like all of the time. And then like just like how life works with synchronicities one after another, I like stumbled into hypnosis. And then at the time, this is some 5 years ago, a friend of mine who is a hairstylist back on the East Coast, I was telling her about like all of my interests. I'm like, I'm thinking about like getting into hypnosis and, you know, meditation and NLP and all these things. And she had just told me, oh, she goes, this is weird. Like literally the day before me just talking to you, I had a client in my chair who's not typically my client. It's like her friend's client. But she's like, I had to take her, and she's doing all these things that you're currently interested in. She's like, you should probably really talk to her. And I was like, what? Like, that's so random. So it took a while for like me to get her number, get her information. And I reached out to her, and she's like, come on in. Like, let's have a session to see if you're like into it, and like, we'll talk about it. She was really nice, really open. To this day, I still try to talk to her here and there. She's someone I consider still a mentor in some ways. She's fascinating to me. So I talked to, I had a session with her, and she was actually really, I probably couldn't afford her at the time, but she gave me a discount. And I came in, I realized she was like this hypnotist to celebrities and actors and like Pulitzer Prize, like winning like writers and all this thing. And I was like, wow, I'm really not like your clientele. But I had this session, I left, and I felt euphoric for 2 days, and I almost felt high, which sounds odd, but I had like this intense like sensory distortion. Like everything was really high definition and vivid, and I saw colors differently. I was looking around, and I was like, this is very odd. So then I was like, this is like what your mind can process and what it can do. And I was like, it's so fascinating to me, like the possibilities and like feeling in a different state and like seeing differently, like
and
literally
for
seeing
multiple
differently.
days after too.
Yeah, it was for a good 2 or 3 days, and I remember emailing her, and she was like, email me, tell me everything you're experiencing. So yeah, and then I got the bug from there, and I got recommendations from her, like who to study out there in New York, and I started like going to different schools, different teachers.
But isn't that interesting? And I think that it's important to note for those that are listening, that when we take a step and we proclaim something that we want, that how pieces just fall together in the puzzle to align with our aim. You know, like there are no coincidences, and the more that you interact and see the synchronicities in life and are aware of it, you can grab a hold of it. But it's up to us to take action, right? Because I think so much of people, like, you know, and I hope that those that are listening, they're probably inspired. There might be a change that you want to make in your life. By all means, come to see Lani to help and assist and open up this umbrella. But even if you're just making that declaration and you're saying it, it's up to you to take that next step. Because most of the time, let's rewind the story back and say, okay, Lani's having talked to her friend that's a hairdresser that says, oh my God, what a coincidence. There was this person that does all these things. And she's like, yeah, whatever. Do you want me to put in touch with her? No, that's fine. I was just sharing with you. That's normally what a lot of times, not normally, I'm saying that, you know, being exaggerating here, but more often than not, somebody would dismiss that request and not take the action to say, yeah, let me meet this random stranger that you don't really even know, but yet there's some kind of weirdness that you both acknowledge that there is a weird synchronicity there. And most people wouldn't take that initiative.
Right.
But that initiative led you to this euphoric experience of perception shift that propelled that interest into an actualization, right?
Yeah.
And then that led you to who to study, how to study, to be one of your mentors, and then let's keep on going with the story. Sorry, I needed to stop there because that needs to be said, you know?
Yeah, and I think often, I don't say often either, but I think sometimes when people come to see us, they also think like, oh, this is like a one-shot deal, and you'll like kind of create this magic or do this magic for me, and like I don't really need to take action. But like that's part of the thing too. We always have to be responsible for like how we conduct ourselves in life and like what actions we choose to take to create change.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of a cartoon, little like sketch cartoon, like paper cartoon that I've seen a while ago. I don't even know if those exist anymore, but it was, this person screaming, God, help me win the lottery, praying next to the bed, God, help me win the lottery, and then like screaming, or like doing something else, and it kept on going up, maybe like 6 or 8 little like blankets of this little cartoon character begging God to help him win the lottery. Yeah. And finally, then you see this voice come out of the sky that says, buy a damn ticket. But I mean, that's so, that's the truth of the matter. It's like, even if you come in and you get your perception totally shifted, or you have that awareness of seeing those bright colors, or you're no longer stressed about a certain situation, or you feel the possibility that you could achieve or create something, well, if you're not taking any action step, you're going to be exactly where you left off.
Right, exactly.
It doesn't matter if you were inspired to be different or live a different life, or you see things differently, if you don't do anything differently,
Exactly.
But okay, so then you go and you start to study different things and see people that what was the first thing that you decided to study? Or
I think NLP was the first thing I decided to study, because I was less interested in it, and I knew it was going to take longer to study, which is kind of backward thinking, I think. But I was like, but then I was like, oh, that's actually really, I just realized they're very coincide with one another, and I'm like, oh, this is great. And actually use a lot of the tools in hypnosis, because they're kind of like the same, they're opposite sides of the same coin, so it's kind of like, what's the difference? So I remember doing that. And I remember playing with it, I think initially on my mom, because I knew she had a phobia of the water. Ever since I've known her, she's now like in her 70s, but when I did, like that phobia cure technique, I don't say a cure, but on my mom.
Hey, it cures people. I mean,
it helped her. But I remember using it on her, and I guess she was nearly being 70 at that time. And I remember always knowing that she was terrified of water. Like, my dad would joke around with her and like pretend to put her in the water, and she'd scream and like flow around like as an adult woman, and we all just like laugh and giggle, but she was petrified of the water. So after doing the process, she just had a click. I just remember her going, oh my God, I really actually wasn't scared. She remembered that the perception of others, she saw her mom's face being terrified. And she goes, I actually wasn't scared. I knew my brother was joking around with me. I knew he wouldn't harm me. And she goes, I wasn't scared. And ever since then, my mom can easily, she has a pool at the house. She swims around in it. She sent me a video after that shortly about like her jumping around in the water. And I was like, oh my God, like this.
It works.
It works. Like, I was like, wow, that's like really powerful.
It did. Yeah. Just to rewind a minute, people are probably like, what's this fast phobia cure?
Yeah.
So you want to explain a little bit of what it is? And
yeah, it basically walks somebody, if there's like something that's kind of traumatic to them, it puts them in a different perspective. So they're outside of it. So they're very disassociated. So they're typically see themselves in a movie theater, and they would be sitting in a movie theater seat, but then they'd kind of disassociate and be in the projector room, so they're not seeing the person that's in the seat is directly seeing the movie screen of the incident that's happening. But you see it all dissociated, so it's like black and white, and then you're not kind of in it, but it's very involved, but you basically are very, very disassociated, so you kind of see things from a different perspective completely. And
when you see things from a different perspective, you remember it differently.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important to note that every time you recall something, you restore it in your memory in a different way. And so, this is one of many techniques of NLP that get people the results fast, and yes, people say, oh, sometimes they come in and they expect miracles, but miracles actually can happen too in one session, like the little, not even a full session with your mom doing one technique with her, and suddenly she's swimming again, and she's sending you videos of in the pool, I mean, that's a pretty big shift for, maybe a 15 to 30 minute little exercise.
Yeah, my dad initially was like, what are you studying? I don't understand what's going on. And then he saw that and he's like, oh, okay, you continue to do what you're doing. And it was like, all right, that's fine.
Okay, and then so from NLP, then you got into hypnosis.
Yeah, I got into hypnosis, which is just, it's funny because whenever someone's like, what is hypnosis? There's like, you can talk to 1,000 hypnotists and you'll get like 1,000 different answers. But
so what is your definition?
Oh God, I say numerous different definitions depending on who I'm talking to.
So what Lani's really saying is that if you ask her on any given day, you're going to get a different response. Not that
Yeah, I will say, I'll give it a couple of responses. So I will say like it's seeding ideas to alter perception or create different perspectives in order to open someone up to new possibilities, to create a new reality for themselves. Or I'll say, and what I tend to say like when I meet someone is, because there's so many misconceptions about hypnosis and it gets like really flooded with like movies, and if you ever see the movie Get Out, it looks terrifying. So all I say, typically say is it's awareness focused inwards. And we do that all day. So, but it's like a heightened hyper focus or narrowed focus, like as if you were like watching a movie and you get immersed in the movie or get absorbed and you don't kind of notice the surroundings in that theater. That's a state of trance or natural induced state, of trance. Or, if you're immersed in a book and you're not aware, you're getting involved in the story and you're not aware of the room that you're in, that's a state of hypnosis. So there's all these different natural states of trance. And when you do hypnosis, it's just basically taking that trance and formally utilizing that.
I like that.
Yeah.
And what do you think it's good for?
Hypnosis? What isn't it good for? I think that's the bigger question.
There we go. I mean, I'm a firm believer too. Like, it's hard for me because I always promote everything downstairs and all of our different work that we do, because I think that there's a place for everything and everything in its place. But when you had the mind of like, oh well, we can reprogram your mind and like come in and let me just do this, and I see that thread we can pull or that seed we can plant, and you know.
It's fascinating. I mean, if you just think, God, anything from fears to phobias to anxiety, like physical pain, like helping manage people's physical pain.
Even you hear about it with like hypnobirthing,
hypnobirthing.
I don't specialize in that, but there's people that do, and people are having full on, they're going through labor without any anesthesia, and they're not experiencing any pain either because they've conditioned themselves through hypnosis.
Yeah,
hypnoanesthesia too.
Yes, that's intense. It's intense, but there's like so many different things, like. What I find interesting is like you can help somebody with some topic or subject that they want to change, and then you notice afterwards that how that helped them, not only with that but like other things. It has this like domino effect that like other things get addressed or gets opened to like, oh, maybe there's something else I need to address.
Yeah, because there's always these layers and everything's interconnected. But what would you say that you most work with?
I like to deal with like anxious issues because I can relate to that. So like any sort of anxieties, also, stress management. Basically, I help people with that, like of having maybe childhood issues that they've brought into their their adult life. Okay. So they brought that in, and it's like kind of, how we like have an experience and we kind of get socialized into having that experience over and over, constant triggers that keep going on in our lives, and we keep getting re-triggered. So dealing with that, so you don't have to deal with that anymore. So kind of clearing of that, like past issues, past wounds. I've dealt with people who had chronic pain, fibromyalgia, just helping people manage their physical pain in some ways and shapes or forms. But I think I like just functioning people who get stuck in life, like having issues with, you know, feeling really torn and not getting clarity and like what to do, and that state of just like, because sometimes they just need to relax and like clear their head and like have insight just come to them in some ways that they're not allowing to happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. And so pretty much everything. But, you know, really, if there's you know, so when do you think that somebody most needs a hypnosis session? You know, like, yeah.
I mean, I think there might be different. I think somebody's really ready for change, and they know, like, yes, like now's the time. I just can't handle this anymore. Because there's oftentimes people are like, yeah, I want to change something, but they're really not on board with it. Mm-hmm. So they might question whether something's going to work or not. But someone who's really like, yeah, this is like a good option. This is an option for me. I'm open to this idea. I know that if I take what I'm given in this session and work with it. Someone who's like open to committing to that. You know what I mean? And like, you know, if we throw like a little homework assignment, whatever, and like, here's a little technique that you can do. And like they do, and they're like, yeah, great. You know, like someone who's committed to the process, and open to the process. I think that's like, I think there's, you know, that's the type of person that is ready for it, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. So when you're ready, and I mean, if you're at a point when you're thinking about wanting to take action, or you're looking for help or support, or if there's something that's triggering those that are listening and saying, I'm ready, you know, then that's time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then you're studying hypnosis, you're going through all of this process. I mean, you know, we're just, you know, and you're tying it in, you're learning NLP, when did you start having your own shift happen in your perception? Because you were saying, okay, you're still in that current job, but your perspective has changed. So you're, you know, because while you're learning this, you're also working on yourself.
Oh, right. Yeah, totally. And I'm still doing that to this day, constantly. I think, I mean, it's just like an organic thing that just generally and gradually happens over time. And I just had meaning, like doing this is meaningful for me. So then I can, you know, when I think about that, I think when you just have purpose and meaning in your life, you see everything differently. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a different colored lens that you're looking through, and then you realize, oh, like the day job isn't that bad. You know what I mean? Like it's very useful for many things, and it's allowing me to utilize tools that I can. You know, I'm dealing with people all day, so like, you know, you can utilize the outside tools in your job in many different ways, and you also realize how you react to people, you know, like what you need to work on. So, yeah, I think like anything, like it's a constant gradual working on yourself. And then you just gradually realize there's different ways to look at things. And I think that just happens slowly over time.
And I love that visual that was popping in my head of looking at your life and your current reality and seeing how is this serving me, you know. And I think that's a very powerful look of like, okay, this is serving so that I can practice these tools, this is serving that I can have this is allowing me to do that, you know. And everywhere you go, there you are, and every moment of your life you're in that space, you know. And that's what I think is really useful about hypnosis, is the ability to help somebody reprogram their self to see it like that. You know, to have that such an extreme type of shift of reality and say, oh, this is kind of cool. I get to practice tools on here, or this I can do this, or I'm learning this, or this is challenging me here where I'm becoming stronger in this area. You know, and so that's great that happened to you, and that you're utilizing that to help others have that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's like what's so like interesting about hypnosis. It's like people think about like the parlor tricks. I don't want to say parlor tricks because they really work, but they think about like you know, like clucking like a chicken, or like the different aspects of hypnosis. They're not thinking about what it's really utilized for. And it is really basically just to change your perspective on things, like to give you some new insights, new perspectives, so you can have those aha moments, and it's you creating that. It's not like we're not really doing anything, you know, like we might be guiding somebody, but like it's the hypnotist that's like exploring their own inner world. So, you know, that's the fascinating thing. It's like, it's not like this, you know, this kind of state of magic. It's like you're creating your own magic within your own mind, and you're solving your own issues. You're providing your own solutions, and that's what is cool. It's like,
and that's, you know, the power of that is in that shift of perception is everything. I mean, there's little quotes and sayings that have been around from who knows how long, but they're just staples in society. Like, whether you think you can or you think you can't, either way you're right, you know, like those types of, you know, or I'll believe it when I see it, but really it's I see what I believe, right? You know, and it's in those little sayings or those words of wisdom that they've lasted throughout time and history, because there's a residence of truth to them, you know. And you know, if people get that, they can change their perception. You know, they really can change everything. You know, because you're viewing us, both of us right now, but are you looking more at Lani or looking more at me? Are you seeing both of us entirely? Are you paying attention to our eyes, to our body, to just a part of us? What is it? But as you're going through that, and you're maybe shifting, as you're changing your perception, and you're seeing this whole picture differently, right? And so, and if you can choose to just look at Lani for the rest of the podcast, and you're going to have one experience. You can choose to look at me for the rest of the podcast, and you're going to have a different experience. You're going to choose to look at both of us, and whether you're focusing on the whole image or just our heads, you're going to have a different experience. And take that and magnify that to the world. Right?
Yeah. It's really crazy if you think about it. It's like how sometimes our shifting our awareness can create really such a big change, and we don't realize how easily it can be to change perspective sometimes, because we're just so locked in, you know, like how we're in that state of mind. Like love and hate are the same coin. Like, you know, allowing yourself to feel lack or to feel gratitude. I mean, you can wake up one morning and be so grateful for everything you have, and then a different perception, you can be like wanting to be somewhere else or in a different place in your life, and feel like you're so unappreciative and that you don't have anything, right? And it's like, if one creates this cloud of depression and this low energy vibration, and one creates this positivity and expansion and growth, and one's joy, one's misery. But all it is a thought form. I mean, that's the crazy part of it, you know? Oh, I'm so blessed and so grateful. I have a bed and this and that. Oh, I hate where I live. I can't like my street. You know, like I'm sure everybody that's watching has had that experience at some time. You wake up and you love your family, you love your life. You have a different experience where you want something different, and you feel like everything's not good enough, and you're so anxious and angry. Who hasn't? We all have. we all have. So, I mean, that's like what it is to be human. But but to know that you can have that option. You know, you have that choice.
You have somebody like you assist you in shifting it.
Knocking on wood. That's true. That's true.
No, you also do some, you know, so you started out with meditations, and the meditations guided you into NLP, when the NLP guided you into hypnosis. And then you started working on some people in New York, and then coming out here and even diving more into other stuff. And now you're doing some meditations too.
I do meditations here on Tuesdays at 3, where I kind of bring in the hypnosis and NLP aspects. And I bring in work that I know, that I've learned from my teachers, but also I'm a little bit of a research geek. I bring in techniques from like hypnotists throughout the world. And so I kind of bring in other people's stuff that I like, and I know it works.
Mind the mind, right?
Hypnotic mind your mind,
Tuesdays at 3. You know, we are going to start recording them. It's very soon coming, maybe even as soon as next week. So then people can have the ability to listen, to download, to tune in anywhere in the world.
Sweet.
You know, but so what can somebody expect from if somebody wants to get a session with you or the meditation? What are some of the things that people can expect?
Well, the meditation is a lot different from a session. So meditation is really just a guided, sort of like a meditation, guided meditation. It's like a general theme, and you can just kind of sit back, relax, and just enjoy the process. There's really nothing required of them. But a session is actually more interactive. So, you know, we're talking about the issue they want to discuss. We're, you know, dissecting of what they want instead. And the hypnotic session is still also very interactive. So I might be asking them the process as, you know, what they're experiencing as we go along. So it's just a kind of a little different. It's obviously more in depth, more customized to the person in a one-on-one session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, you know, what other areas are, you know, take me through some other things that you've been fascinated on learning through all of the different things that you've
I mean, so obviously I'm also really into, you know, I love hypnosis, I love meditation, but sometimes I'm like, you know, what if you can't sit for a good 20 minutes and like zen out, and if you're having some issues? So I'm also into like giving people really quick techniques that they can get unstuck or alter the emotion that they're feeling within a few minutes. So kind of like,
can we do a demonstration?
If you want to do a little, it's a very, like there's a few very simple ones.
Can we demonstrate for people? Like I want people to experience a shift.
So everyone, well, they may know, but there's like a very simple bilateral stimulation kind of like technique that people can do. So if you have, say, a pen, and we'll use Cristina. Okay. So say if you're having like some emotion, anxiety or something. Okay. And you give it to, so maybe think of something that will get you upset. Or think of anxiety or an issue, and think of it from a number 1 to 10, and don't do something too dramatic. Okay. You want to like spiral out, but like if you think, you know, someone, obviously 1 would be really low and 10 would be really high, so maybe somewhere like 6. Okay. So if you have something, and so what I'm going to say is hold that, and I'm going to move the chair a little bit. So what you want to do is kind of midsection. So while you're holding that pen and thinking of that, you kind of move that pen back and forth from hand to hand, but you want to have both hands kind of crossing the midsection. Okay. So this one's swinging like that and swinging back, and just keep doing that, and just lower as you keep doing that, and kind of think of the thing you're thinking of. This kind of creates a whole body, kind of a whole mind brain aspect. So it's basically allowing both hemispheres of your brain to come online, because when you're usually in a stuck state, we're stuck in one brain hemisphere, and we're kind of going, you know, and we're kind of circling around, but this kind of creates a whole brain aspect. So you kind of keep doing this, and so you notice that number lowering and dropping down. And for some people, this does it really quickly. Some people might need a little longer time, and you can stop and kind of like check in and to see where number it's at. And then, you know, if you need to do it more, you do it more. And you keep doing that until it drops to like a number that's more manageable for you. And that's kind of like a little thing. But the reason they do this a lot for also people with PTSD, and they kind of might have them doing like a thing like this where they're tapping.
I like that though.
Yeah. And so basically they're doing it so they're crossing hemispheres of the brain. You know, you're doing this and you're actually crossing both aspects of, you know, they're creating whole brain thinking kind of thing.
Yeah, it like desensitizes it.
Yeah, it desensitizes and like neutralizing emotions. And it's like quick ways of doing it. Then sometimes
so all you need is a pen at home, flip it back and forth and back and forth. Think of
that
thing,
a ball, whatever.
You know?
Yeah. So
I like that.
So stuff like that I try to do and show people. And if you have like inner thoughts, a little quick one for inner thoughts. If you're like overwhelmed with inner thoughts and you're just kind of like ruminating a lot, a good one to do is basically it's like how you zone out. So you kind of, as you're thinking those thoughts, you pick a spot on the wall or anywhere before you, and then you kind of defocus and soften your gaze, and then think, and then notice the space around that dot, and then you kind of extend it out. So you're just noticing the space as you extend it out really far, to left and right, and then really far from top to bottom. So you're not kind of moving your head, you're not moving your eyes, you're focusing on that spot, then defocusing your gaze, and then noticing the space around that spot, and as you kind of spread that out. So basically you're seeing your peripheral vision just expand out. And then you notice, like, you can't think of anything while you're doing that.
You can't.
So
it's one-pointedness.
Yeah, and it's a good way to get in trance, too. A good trance state.
I like that.
So, yeah. So things like that.
All right.
I'll bring in people.
I like that. That's good. So little techniques, quick little turnarounds, tools that you can take outside of here.
Yeah.
And you know, shifting the perspectives internally, too.
Yep.
Now, the meditations, people are just more zoned out completely.
Yeah, I let people lie down if they want. If they put a little blanket on, like, get comfortable. There's no rules in that room. They can just do whatever they want and kind of relax and chill out. Yeah.
So where can people find you, Lani?
Where can they? Well, they can find me here on Tuesdays at 3, meditation class.
Okay.
They can find me on Mondays and Fridays, like for one-on-one client work at 4 to 9. And yeah, they can find me on the Liberate Hollywood website. I think I'm listed up there.
All right. And what about, do you have a personal Instagram or anything that you want to do? Or?
Yeah, well, I have a website, LaniBuess.com.
Okay.
And they can find me on email, too, at change@LaniBuess.com.
All right. So we'll put all of that in the footnotes. You'll have that. And thank you for joining.
Thanks, guys.
If you enjoyed this conversation, like it, subscribe, and share it with your friends. If you want some more amazing resources on your path of liberation, head over to liberateyourself.com and sign up for our mailing list. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram at Liberate Hollywood, all one word, or Liberate Emporium, all one word. Until next time, liberate yourself.